So something happened recently on YouTube, and if you're a small channel, you probably felt it. Your views probably dropped, not gradually, not slowly. They fell off a cliff almost overnight. Videos that were getting consistent reach suddenly stopped. And if you went looking for that explanation from YouTube, from the community, from anywhere, you didn't find one. YouTube didn't send an email. There was no announcement. There was no update post. Your analytics just changed and you were left trying to figure out what you did wrong. Well, here's the thing. You didn't do anything wrong. YouTube changed something in the recent months and small channels are still paying for it. Stay with me. Here's what actually changed. Every time you upload a video, YouTube assigns it an initial test group, a pool of people it's going to show your video to first before deciding whether to push it further. The test group has always been sized based on your channel's trust score. High trust score means a bigger initial pool. Low trust score means a smaller one. That system has been in place for a long time, and most creators who study their analytics understand how it works. But what changed recently is that YouTube adjusted the thresholds for how it sizes those test groups, specifically smaller channels. The minimum click-through rate a video needs to hit inside that initial test group in order to qualify for expanded distribution was raised, not by a lot, but enough to matter. Channels that were passing the test at 2.8 or 3.1% click-through rate and getting consistent distribution suddenly stopped qualifying. Same content, same thumbnails, same upload schedule, but the bar moved and nobody told them. Here's why this hits small channels harder than larger ones. Large channels have massive initial test groups because their trust score is built on years of high click-through rate history. When YouTube raises the threshold, those channels have enough volume in their test group to absorb the change. Their average click-through rate across thousands of impressions still clears the new bar. Small channels have a small initial test group, sometimes just a few hundred impressions before YouTube makes a decision, or it can just take a lot longer. When the threshold goes up and your test group is already small, even a slight dip in click-through rate means the test fails before it ever really had a chance to run. Your video gets shown to a few hundred people, doesn't hit the new number, and YouTube pulls back distribution immediately. That's the cliff your views fell off in these recent months. The reason most small creators couldn't diagnose this is because nothing in your analytics tells you the threshold has changed. Your click-through rate looks the same. Your retention looks the same. Your upload schedule looks the same. The only signal is the drop in suggested impressions, and most creators aren't watching that number closely enough to catch it in the first 6 hours when there's still time to do something about it. The title is the fastest lever you have for raising your click-through rate inside the initial test group. Not your thumbnail, not your retention, your title. A lot of creators think that your click-through rate is directly tied to your thumbnail, which, yes, it does have something to do with it, but your title is what's going to signal the algorithm in the first place, and the hook is going to be the thing that gets someone to want to click. They see the thumbnail, then they read the title, then they click. The title is the fastest lever you have for raising your click-through rate inside the initial test group. The title is what cold audiences see first, and it's what determines whether they click before YouTube even measures anything else. We have been studying titles obsessively because they are so darn important. We actually put together a swipe file of 10 of our top outlier title hooks that consistently clear the cold audience test. And they've worked really, really well for us and for our students. If you'd like to get a copy of that, just comment hooks down below and I'll send it to you. And you can literally take these frameworks and plug your niche right into them and go ahead and give them a try. So if you want a copy of that swipe file, just comment hooks down below and I'll send it to you. Because right now, your title needs to hit harder than it did 3 months ago to pass the threshold YouTube moved in recent months. There's actually 3 signs that these changes are still actively hurting your channel right now. So let's cover those. Sign number 1, your suggested impressions dropped significantly in the recent months and you haven't recovered. Here's what you need to do to see if that's actually happening. Open your YouTube Studio and go to the Reach tab. Pull up your traffic sources and look at your suggested video impressions over the last 90 days. If there's a visible drop around these recent months and you haven't bounced back, YouTube is recalculating your test group size during this window and it hasn't restored it yet. Your channel is still operating at the reduced distribution level it was assigned after the threshold change. All right, sign number 2. Your browse click-through rate is healthy, but your suggested click-through rate is stuck under 3%. Browse is your existing subscribers who already know you and trust you and are willing to click. Suggested is complete strangers seeing your channel for the first time. If browse is at like 8 or 9% and suggested is under 3%, your titles are passing the familiar audience test, but failing the cold audience test. That gap is exactly what triggered this recent pullback for thousands of small channels, and it's still the thing keeping their distribution locked at a lower level right now. All right, the third sign is your views per video have been flat or declining in these recent months, even though your subscriber count is still growing. New subscribers should eventually translate into more reach. If your channel is gaining subscribers, but your average views per video isn't growing, those new subscribers aren't engaging and YouTube isn't compensating with suggested traffic. Your channel's getting bigger on paper while actually shrinking in real reach. So how do you actually recover from a threshold change you never knew happened? Well, there's 3 things. The first thing is audit your last 10 titles against a complete stranger standard. Pull up your last 10 videos and read each title out loud as if you never heard of your channel before. If the answer is no on more than half of them, well, your title baseline is below the new threshold. You need to rewrite your next 3 titles with that standard before you film anything else. One strong title that clears the new bar can start rebuilding your suggested click-through rate almost immediately. All right, the second thing is post your next video and watch your suggested click-through rate in the first 3 hours specifically, not 6 hours. 3 hours. Since this recent change, the algorithm is making distribution decisions faster than it used to on smaller channels. If your suggested click-through rate is under 2.5% at the 3-hour mark, your title isn't clearing the new threshold and you still have a window to swap it before the decision gets locked in. Set a reminder the moment you publish. Missing that window is the difference between a video that recovers your distribution and one that confirms the pullback. All right, the third thing is go back and take a look at your past videos. And if any of them are failing your click-through rate test, I would unlist them. I wouldn't delete them, I would unlist those videos because those videos are sitting on your channel actively dragging your trust score down every single day. So we wanna monitor that and we wanna do a little cleanup. YouTube is averaging your click-through rate history across your entire channel when it decides how big of a test group to give your next video. Dead videos with dead click-through rates are lowering the average and keeping your test group small. Cleaning them off your channel doesn't erase the history, but it does stop the bleeding. Combined with stronger titles going forward, it's the fastest path back to distribution levels that you've had before. So yes, YouTube moved the bar once again. It didn't tell you, it didn't explain it, it just happened. It just changed the numbers and let small channels like us figure out why their views dropped. But at least now you have an understanding as to why and what has changed. Now, if you want to understand more about creating these test audiences that are super important, so when your video first gets uploaded, it stands a better chance of getting pushed, I recorded a video right here that breaks down how those test audiences actually work and how you can make yours better. Watch that video next, and I'll see you there.